Hello, my beautiful friends at the Broad Street United Methodist Church and whoever else wishes to watch. I'm broadcasting today from my parsonage office and studio. This is where I often work when doing so from home, and it's also the place that I often retire to do my watercolors. Now, I admit that I am on a steep learning curve about how to use technology. I didn't think about having to use technology just a few days ago, but the coronavirus precautions suddenly turned the whole world upside down. As you know, we're under restrictions that require that we can no longer, at least for a while, hold in-person meetings of more than 10 people at a time. Now, that seriously curtails our worship services, our Holy Communion, Sunday school, weddings, funerals, and many other of our church activities. I can't even visit my members in retirement villages or senior living facilities or hospitals. That puts a crimp in the style of my pastoral ministry. And this state of alert may continue for a while, predictably, maybe into midsummer, but at least through Palm Sunday and Holy Week and our Easter celebrations. And that means that our choir cantata, our children's Palm Sunday processional, our Maundy Thursday service, Easter sunrise service, Easter breakfast, and our Easter congregational worship, a usual high point in the Christian year, will all be suspended. So, what are we going to do? We're going to use other means of communicating. Thank God for the internet. Right? We have technological means to communicate and draw close even when we face these restrictions. Just think of the technology. Just today, I was on a Zoom video conference call with about 20 other United Methodist pastors and our district superintendent, sharing our common concerns about our spiritual health and the spiritual health of our congregations and the stresses of ministry in these times of pandemic. I could sit here in my office and we could see one another all stacked up like the Brady Bunch on the screen. We could all speak and listen, all from the comfort of our own offices, living rooms, and dining room tables. And while the call was going on, I received a call on my cell phone through the messenger from a dear friend who had been a member of my church in the Taipei, Taiwan, who was calling over messenger from Nigeria in West Africa. It's amazing how the world can come so close together, even though we're scattered 12 time zones away. And just because we do not meet regularly now at 36 East Broad Street doesn't mean that the church is flummoxed or cowed. We are a resilient people. We are an adaptable people because we serve a great big God who will open the channels of creativity and help us stay together. The church, after all, is not the building. The church is a people. Throughout history, the church has adapted to many different forms as adverse circumstances arose and societal challenges pressed in. God will make a way when there seems to be no way. Isn't that the essential message of Exodus? Hemmed in by the sea on one side and Pharaoh's army on the other side, God opened a pathway through the mighty sea and Moses and the Israelites passed through. And God will make a way for us to stay in touch, to continue to experience community, if not in physical proximity, at least in mind and heart and spirit. And God will use this time certainly to make us more mindful and thankful for the times when we can come together again to pray and sing and listen and learn. Maybe we'll learn how precious that is when we can meet unhindered and unrestricted. Though the coronavirus pandemic is awful and devastating, good can come from it. It isn't the first time the church and our country has endured great difficulty and challenges to getting together. Think of the American Revolution, the Civil War, World War I, the Great Depression, World War II, 9/11. Think of hurricanes, Harvey and Sandy and Katrina, and floods just recently in Texas. Christians over the centuries worldwide have endured persecution, wars, plagues, famines. We've not been immune from the same things that afflict everyone. The church has faced crisis with courage and faith and good hope because we love the God who loves us and who will never leave us or forsake us. In times of disaster, God's people can find new ways of serving. Jesus said these words, "I will build my church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it." Christ left us with this promise, "I will be with you even to the end of the age." Last week, our church began to live stream our service. Thank God for Laura, who knew how to do this and helped us set it up and do it. This Sunday at 11 o'clock, we'll do the same while adding a little more to the service in the way of music and some hymns. We hope you'll sing along, intercessory prayers, and of course, scripture reading and Bible reflection. We hope that you will assemble as a family to participate in the prayers and songs and the psalms and scripture lessons and the messages. Get the children around. Get them all involved. I talked to several people this week who had already listened to our live stream or to the YouTube version, and they said we got the whole family together and did it. Each day or so, I also hope to post a message online to give you something to think about, maybe a little bit of spiritual nurture. This morning, I got up around 6:30 before Stephanie went to work. We usually share breakfast and a few moments around the table with the upper room. We do the devotion and have a prayer together and pray for the church, pray for our children, pray for the world. I went outside to roll the recycle bin out to the street for the pickup this morning. It was gloomy. I mean, a thick fog had descended on Burlington. Everything was enshrouded in a gray haze, and it occurred to me that a sort of fog has descended on our country and even on the whole world. As I learned from my Nigerian friend that people in his country, in Nigeria, are also frightened as the virus spreads there. The thought came to me that just above the fog, the sun is still shining brightly. The gloom will soon be lifted, and the sun will burn away the veil. A scripture came to mind as I was pondering this, a text from Isaiah that we usually read around Advent. It was about a bad time in Israel. A bad time had visited Israel, and the people were scared. Out of their fear, and they had often rejected God, they sought out mediums and fortune tellers and spiritists to assure them of their futures. Their situation only grew worse. Listen to the words of the prophet. I'm reading from Isaiah 8:19 through 22. It says, "Now, if people say to you, 'Consult the ghosts and the familiar spirits and that chirp and mutter,' should not a people consult their gods, the dead on behalf of the living, for teaching and for instruction? Surely those who speak like this have no dawn. They will pass through the land greatly distressed and hungry. When they are hungry, they will be enraged and will curse their king and their gods. They will turn their faces upward, or they will look to the earth, but they will see only distress and darkness, the gloom of anguish. They will be thrust into thick darkness." Now the prophet paints a picture of doom and gloom when the people have turned away from the true God. A kind of fog had descended, gloominess. But God never allows doom and gloom to have the last word. This too shall pass. The prophet continued in chapter 9 along the same talk. Listen to these words from chapter 9, verses 1 through 3, the book of Isaiah. "But there will be no gloom for those who were in anguish. In former time he brought into contempt the land of Zebulun, the land of Naphtali, but in the latter time he will make glorious the way of the sea, the land beyond Jordan, Galilee of the nations. The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. Those who live in the land of the deep darkness, on them light has shined. You have multiplied the nation. You have increased its joy. They rejoice before you as with the joy at the harvest, as people exult when dividing plunder." In this text, it tells us that sorrow turns to joy. Grief becomes rejoicing. The funeral dirge gives way to a song of victory, and the clothes of mourning get replaced by the garments of praise. We are in difficult, trying times, and some things may get worse before they get better. That's reality. But we serve Jesus, the same one who told the people, "I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life." Therefore, in a mist, in the fog, we can choose the courage of faith because we walk by faith, not by sight. We can choose joy. We can choose hope. We can choose to love. The people who walked in the darkness have seen a great light. Those who lived in the land of deep darkness, on them light has shined. I just looked outside. The fog is lifting, the clouds are breaking up, the sky is turning a beautiful blue, and the sun is beginning to shine through. God bless you. Stay tuned for the next message.